Around here, we talk a lot about periods, pregnancy, and pap smears, but what if I told you that your gynecologist is also keeping an eye on your skin? Or they should be, and they might not be? I don't know, you tell me if they are. But that breakout, that itch, that weird bump you've been ignoring forever, it's probably important and you should bring it up with us. So if you want to know how the skin on your vulva is so unique and why that should even matter to you, if you can get cancer down there, I'll give you a hint, you can. And in this video, I'll tell you what to watch out for and what you should know about that. Or why your acne seemingly flares at random times. You are in the right place. Today we're diving into the mysterious ways, often ignored by gynecologists, that your skin and reproductive health are connected. And if you want to support your skin's health and this channel in the process, don't forget to check out today's sponsor, the Illumina Mask by iRestore. We'll hear more about them in a minute. First up, let's talk about hormones and the role they play in your skin. As a gynecologist, I obviously spend a lot of time talking about hormones here with y'all and in my real day-to-day life. And usually we're discussing things like estrogen or progesterone, but sometimes we even talk about androgens. Most of the topics in this video will, at least in a roundabout way, have something to do with hormones. But for now, let's focus on acne. Generally, we attribute most of the acne-related skin changes that we see to relative increases in the amount of androgens that are circulating in your bloodstream. Androgens are kind of generally thought of as being male hormones, and the reason for that is that things like testosterone, which is an androgen, are known to be found in much higher amounts comparatively in men or AMAB people. But the truth is that everybody has and needs androgens, including testosterone, circulating in their bloodstream to survive. And when the relative balance of androgens is higher, whether that's just a normal state of being because of where you are in your cycle, or because of things like PCOS, which can cause increases in the amount of circulating androgens, when those amounts are higher relative to things like estrogen and progesterone, we see an increase in acne and skin-related androgen effects. But why do androgens cause acne? Well, they have an effect on the skin of increasing production of a substance called sebum. And sebum can clog pores, which makes all of those pores slightly more susceptible to getting little micro-infections, which is what acne is. So this leads to increases in skin blemishes when those hormones are increased in relative concentrations compared to other hormones that circulate in your bloodstream. This is why people with PCOS, like we just discussed, and other conditions that increase androgens or increase the amount of androgens in your bloodstream relative to other hormones, tend to have worse problems with acne outbreaks. And it's also why we often use combined hormonal contraceptives or OCPs or COCs, whatever you want to call them, basically birth control pills that have both estrogen and a type of progestin in them to help to decrease acne in some people, especially if you have flares like at certain times of your cycle, right before your period or during your period. And the reason that these help with that is because combined hormonal contraceptives increase the amount of a circulating glycoprotein called sex hormone binding globulin, and that is basically running around in your bloodstream trying to find testosterone and androgens to attach to. And when it attaches to them, they can't work well at the level of the skin anymore. And so basically, it doesn't decrease how much you have, it just decreases how much you have that can function to wreak havoc at the level of the skin, if that makes sense. So we don't give them to balance hormones or anything like that. It's essentially made, when it's used for this, to increase SHBG, which keeps that testosterone or other androgen from causing problems at the skin or increasing sebum production at the skin. And if you're in a phase of life where you're experiencing issues with your skin, like acne or fine lines and wrinkles or whatever it is that's bothering you, you might be interested in hearing about the sponsor of today's video. Let me introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, the Illumina Face Mask by iRestore. If you've been here a while, you may know that I suffer from rosacea and also facial eczema. Both these conditions and the treatments that I use to combat them can often leave my skin feeling dull and irritated. You also probably know that I'm a big fan of science-based and evidence-backed information and products, and that is why I truly love iRestore's Illumina face mask. Collagen is a really important substance for the health of our skin, but unfortunately what we see is that starting in our 20s, there are sharp declines in collagen levels. Luckily, multiple scientific studies have shown that LED light therapy may help boost collagen production, thereby improving the overall look and feel of skin. The Illumina mask by iRestore is a convenient way to achieve clinical level results with LED light therapy, all from the comfort of your own home. It uses triple wavelength technology, which includes red, infrared, and blue wavelengths, to target acne, inflammation, and aging all at the same time. And I can put the mask on while I'm doing things around the house, checking off my to-do list. I can wear it while I'm folding laundry or doing the dishes, sometimes even while I'm checking email. Red and infrared light therapy are backed by data and by dermatologists to be an effective way to boost collagen production, thereby improving the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles by improving the elasticity in the skin. And when you add in the blue light therapy, you're also targeting breakouts. In fact, in a recent clinical study with the Illumina mask, 94% of participants noted that they saw an improvement in the overall appearance of their skin after just 12 weeks of using the mask at home. So if you'd like to improve the overall appearance of your skin and support my channel in the process, you can get $205 off the Illumina face mask by iRestore by clicking on my link in the description box down below or using the code you see on screen here. Thank you to our wonderful sponsor. Now let's get back to the video. Let's move on to talking about the skin on your vulva, because it is very unique compared to the skin at the rest of your body. It is much more sensitive, much more thin, and also much more reactive to products that can cause inflammation and irritation. This is why you always hear myself and other OB-GYNs, especially OB-GYNs on the internet who happen to be my friends, talking about how important it is to not use a bunch of products on the vulva, and particularly to avoid anything that has fragrances or alcohol in it, because the skin on the vulva is extremely sensitive and you can cause more problems than you help with a lot of these products very easily. And often, for whatever reason, it's incredibly irritating. The products that are marketed specifically towards feminine hygiene or kind of made to make you think that you need that for your vulva are the culprits that are causing these problems. So please, please, please don't fall for the marketing on these products, because a lot of them have ingredients that you absolutely should not be putting on the vulva. Whether that is fragrances or preservatives or having a pH that really shouldn't be put on the vulva, they can cause real problems, and a lot of times people don't realize they are the culprits. In fact, in my clinic, if you come in and you have itching or irritation or whatever, I actually have a whole handout about products that are or aren't safe for the vulva, and a list of hidden culprits, like including things like shampoo, because people don't imagine shampoo as being the problem. I am not putting it on my vulva, right? But you're washing your hair with it and then it runs down and it can still cause issues. So that doesn't mean you can't use your shampoo. It just means if you're having trouble with vulvar irritation and you can't figure out why and you've been seeing doctors, these are the things I start have my patients to progressively eliminate or change and see if it helps, because a lot of times there are hidden places where you're getting exposed to irritants. Now let's talk a little bit about estrogen and its role in the vulvar skin, and particularly what happens when we go through menopause or are doing something else where our estrogen levels are relatively lower, like breastfeeding. The skin of the vulva and vagina is really reliant on estrogen to keep it elastic and hydrated and in a condition that feels comfortable. So when that estrogen is low, a lot of times people will experience more fragile skin, more uncomfortable skin, dehydrated or dry skin on the vulva and vagina. And the reason is because low estrogen keeps that skin from getting the healthy kind of hydration and elasticity that you're used to it having. This is called vulvovaginal atrophy, and while it is technically normal in a low estrogen state like menopause or a relative low estrogen state like breastfeeding, it doesn't mean that it doesn't cause problems. So the most common problem that people come in with that ends up being related to this is painful intercourse. And the good news is that it is really easy to treat. The way that we treat this is with topical vaginal estrogen therapy. And this is extremely effective and safe for most people and pretty quickly restores that elasticity and hydration that improves the feel of the skin of the vulva and vagina. This most often will be given to somebody in the form of like a cream or a vaginal ring, and it does a really great job of treating vulvovaginal atrophy. Other conditions like lichen sclerosis are also related to lower estrogen levels, and the time that we see these the most is postmenopause, but also you can get lichen sclerosis prior to puberty. So it's kind of a bimodal distribution. We see it after menopause, but also in prepubertal children sometimes. And what this is basically a thinning of the skin of the vulva where the skin gets very sensitive and fragile and itchy and kind of has an appearance almost like parchment paper. That's what you would see in a textbook. And the reason for this is low estrogen. It can cause persistent itching, micro tears, general discomfort, but also white areas or plaques or ulcers and things like that. And sometimes we need to do a biopsy to diagnose it. Sometimes it looks classic like a textbook and we can diagnose it just by looking. Regardless, if you're having any of those symptoms and they aren't going away, you should see a gynecologist and let them know so that we can check it out and make sure we can decide if it's something that needs to be treated. Now, I said that this is more common with low estrogen and happens more commonly after menopause and before puberty, but those are not the only times that we see this. You can have it at any point. So if you're having persistent itching or symptoms of any kind on the vulva, please, please, please come in and let us know so we can check it out. And then there's other dermatologic conditions like lichen planus and eczema that can also affect the skin of the vulva. Basically anything you can get on your skin other places, psoriasis even, can also affect the skin on the vulva. So again, please, 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 persistent itching, anything bothersome, not going away, not improving, get it checked out by your gynecologist. And that's a pretty good segue into discussing skin cancer. And I know most people do not think of the vulva as being a place where you get skin cancer, but trust me, this is really important. Now, you can get melanoma, which is what a lot of people tend to think of as skin cancer, which is a really aggressive type of skin cancer that is more commonly associated with sun exposure on the vulva. You definitely can get that and it can be really bad. But the most common type of skin cancer that we actually see on the vulva is squamous cell carcinoma. And generally when we see this, not always, it is related to HPV. So we talk a lot about HPV with regards to causing abnormal cells on the cervix or abnormal pap smears, which is how we pick it up. But it can do the same thing on the skin of the vulva. The way that this presents is often an area that is just not healing, it's itchy or irritated and persistently in the same place and not going away, or an ulcer that is bothersome and not going away. Usually you're going to have symptoms, but regardless, this is why it's really important if anything is going on, please, please, please get it checked out. It's certainly more likely it's going to be something easy to treat like vulvovaginal atrophy that we just discussed or lichen sclerosis that we just discussed, but there also is a chance that it could be skin cancer and we need to check it out and see because that can be a really, really difficult diagnosis to make for people who aren't looking for it and can be incredibly detrimental to someone's life if it is missed in the process of working up something that's going on the vulva. So, PSA, if you notice any non-healing sores or discolorations or moles that are new or changing, please, please, please have your friendly neighborhood gynecologist take a look so that we don't miss something that could be completely life-changing for you. Most of them are treatable if we catch them early. And because Karen said that I have to make a mention of this, because I just told you, you can get melanoma on your vulvar skin. And I've also said in this video, maybe we shouldn't be putting a bunch of chemicals or abrasive or harsh ingredients on the vulva. Please don't go out and do the TikTok sun your vulva trend because I don't want you putting sunscreen on your vulva and I don't want you having a reason to need to put sunscreen on your vulva. So let's not do that. Don't do it with sunscreen and don't do it without. Let's talk a little bit about hair removal and irritation on the vulva. Whether you shave or wax or sugar or go au naturel, you can get something called folliculitis in any hair follicle on your body. Folliculitis is an infection inside the hair follicle, and it is way more common when you have gone through some kind of hair removal process, so shaving, waxing, etc. put you at an increased risk of something called folliculitis. Now, this isn't usually a big deal. It's a pretty self-limiting problem most of the time, meaning it goes away on its own and doesn't cause big issues or need treatment, but they can sometimes need treatment. So if you have something going on that's not improving, I feel like this video should have just been me going like, listen, if there's something on your vulva and it's not getting better, come in and let us check it out. But what I want to tell you is that it can be more problematic than just that. Usually, if you're experiencing folliculitis and it is recurrent and not improving, the first thing I would tell someone to do is whatever you're doing for hair removal, just stop. Just stop for at least a little while and see if it gets better. And then after that, we can talk about if you really want to do hair removal, what are some ways that we can decrease irritation and decrease risk of folliculitis or hair follicle infections with that. That includes like using clean tools and giving your skin some time to rest between treatments and using a professional waxer or sugar if that's what you're choosing to do. But also, hear me when I say it's also okay if you don't want to remove that hair. I totally understand if you want to. Personal choice, go for it. But if you are just doing it because you feel pressure from society and now you're having issues from it, like just let this be your empowering moment to just do what you want. And if you want to remove it, do it safely. I mean, imagine all the free time you would have if you just gave up hair removal completely. People come in all the time and they like apologize, like, oh, I haven't shaved my legs or whatever. I'm like, not once have I ever noticed if someone had hairy legs. And trust me, if we went toe to toe, shin to shin, at any point, I would certainly have hairier legs than you. So I am not worried about that. I'm also not worried about your grooming patterns on the vulva. So please don't worry about that. It would be nice if your feet didn't smell bad because they are right next to my head, but you know, that's fine too. I can get past that. I don't care if you have hair down there or don't. I don't care if your legs are shaved or not. And I probably won't even notice or remember the moment you walk out of my office. So don't worry about it. And the last thing we're going to talk about with regards to your vulvar skin is clues about STIs. Now, importantly, every issue at the vulva is not a sexually transmitted infection. In fact, most of them aren't. However, sometimes skin changes on the vulva can be the first clue that something like an STI is going on. Syphilis, herpes, HPV, even HIV can have manifestations as skin problems on the vulva. So if you have any new irritation or persistent irritation or ulcers or changes or anything, please, please, please see a qualified healthcare professional, gynecologist preferably, and have them take a look and give you their opinion. Do any testing that needs to be done. Again, I feel like this video could have been fully summed up as if something is wrong with your vulva, take it to the gynecologist. Your skin can tell us so much about what's going on in your body hormonally, systemically, and on a reproductive level. So don't write it off, especially when it's trying to get your attention. If you learned something new today, or if your gynecologist has never mentioned any of this to you, please let me know in the comments down below. I think this is such a important and often ignored part of my field, and I just want to know if you've had any exposure to what we talked about in this video at all. Subscribe if you want to come back for weekly science-backed information that actually helps you feel smarter, stronger, and more empowered about your health. And thank you to iRestore for being the sponsor of today's video. Check out the link in the description box down below for your exclusive discount, and I'll see you next Monday.